Howard Schultz made a promise in 1987. He said, if you treat people well, they make better coffee. Better coffee keeps people coming back. Keep people coming back, and you build something that lasts. It worked. For 30 years. Your Starbucks order costs $7 now, not $4, $7. For a drink that takes 15 minutes to arrive, tastes slightly different every time, and comes with a screen that spins around and asks you for a 25% tip before holding the cup. That's what a broken promise costs. And here's what makes no sense. The company charging you $7 is still losing money. Same-store sales down, 3 CEOs in 3 years, stores closing across the country. Where exactly is your $7 going? Because to answer that, you need to know about a man who came out of retirement to destroy what he built. An agency with a body count, and a CEO flying in on a private jet to tell the people making your coffee that their pay can't go up. This is what happens when a promise breaks. Starbucks wasn't always a coffee shop. In 1971, 3 friends opened a small store in Seattle. They sold coffee beans, equipment, grinders. You couldn't even buy a cup of coffee there, just the stuff to make it at home. Then a man named Howard Schultz walked in. He took a trip to Milan, wandered into one espresso bar, watched people stay, talk, laugh, baristas who knew customers by name. He flew home and told the founders America needed this, not beans in a bag, an experience, a place to belong. They said no. So Schultz quit, started his own cafe. Then in 1987, he came back and bought the entire company. The moment he owned it, he changed everything. Espresso machines moved to the front. You could sit down. And here's the part people forget. Schultz gave part-time workers health insurance and stock options. In the 1980s, nobody did that. He called them partners, not employees. By 1992, Starbucks went public. Within a decade, they were opening 1 new store every single business day. They convinced America to pay $4 for coffee. That white cup with the green mermaid became a status symbol. You weren't just getting caffeine. You were telling everyone who saw you that you had taste. By 2008, Starbucks was generating $10 billion a year. Then they got greedy. Between 2019 and 2024, the price of a medium latte went up 40%. Wages barely moved. The bet was that customers loved them too much to leave. It was the wrong bet. Dutch Brothers, McCafe, Dunkin', home espresso machines, gas station coffee that doesn't taste like burnt regret. Starbucks trained America to appreciate good coffee. Then everyone else figured out how to do it cheaper. The customers didn't disappear. They just stopped coming back. And while that was happening, something else was going wrong. Something Starbucks still doesn't want to talk about. It starts with the people making your coffee. Remember what Schultz built his empire on. Not the coffee, the people. Part-time workers getting health insurance when no one else offered it. Stock options for baristas. Being called a partner instead of an employee. Schultz wasn't doing it for the headlines. It was the entire foundation of the company. And for a while it worked, exactly as advertised. But here's what Schultz also did. He told workers they didn't need a union because the company already gave them everything a union would fight for. Better pay than competitors, benefits nobody else offered, a seat at the table. Trust us, he said. You don't need protection from us. For 50 years, workers believed him. Then, in 2021, something shifted. The labor market tightened after the pandemic. For the first time, baristas started comparing notes, talking to each other. Not just in one store, in every store. And what they found was this: chronically understaffed stores, schedules handed out days in advance with no notice, wages that hadn't kept up with rent, the same number of people being asked to make twice the number of drinks, half of them 17-ingredient TikTok orders that didn't exist 5 years ago. So they did something that had never happened in 50 years of Starbucks history. They organized. August 2021, Buffalo, New York. Workers at 3 Starbucks stores filed for union elections. The company flew anti-union representatives directly from corporate headquarters to talk workers out of it. Howard Schultz himself held a meeting at a Buffalo hotel to tell workers why they didn't need a union. The man who built the partner philosophy. In a hotel conference room, telling his partners they were wrong to want one. And he did not offer them health insurance at the meeting. In December 2021, the votes came in. The Elmwood Avenue store voted 19-8 in favor. First unionized Starbucks in American history. Within weeks, stores across the country were filing to organize. Within months, it had spread to hundreds of locations. The issues in Buffalo were the issues everywhere. Starbucks did not take it well. Over the following 2 years, Starbucks accumulated over 1,100 unfair labor practice charges filed with the National Labor Relations Board. Not 1,100 accusations from one union, 1,100 separate legal filings across hundreds of stores, covering allegations of workers being fired for organizing, hours being cut as punishment, stores being shut down specifically to prevent union votes from happening. In 2022, Schultz came back as CEO. Workers said he came back for one reason: the votes in Buffalo had made it personal. Then Starbucks made a hire that stopped people in their tracks. A new manager of global intelligence for retail operations. Her name was Amanda Stanfill. Her background? 12 years with the CIA, including roles in counter-narcotics, organized crime, and political intelligence on 3 continents. Before joining Starbucks, she had been a full-time intelligence analyst at a private agency. The Pinkertons. Founded in 1850, by the late 1800s, they had more active agents than the entire United States Army. Their specialty was union busting. They infiltrated labor movements, broke strikes, and in 1892 sent 300 armed agents up the Monongahela River on barges in the middle of the night to crush a steelworkers' strike. 11 people died. Congress was not pleased. The violence was so extreme, Congress passed a law banning the government from ever hiring them again. The Anti-Pinkerton Act, 1893, named after them because of what they did. Starbucks hired one to watch the baristas. Not to make policy, not to improve operations, to run intelligence on workers trying to organize. Partners. That's what they called them for 50 years. By 2024, Starbucks had burned through 3 CEOs in 3 years. The stock was down, sales were falling, the union was still fighting. So the board went looking for someone with a track record. They found Brian Niccol. Niccol had just spent 6 years turning Chipotle around, stock up 700%, one of the most celebrated operators in the restaurant industry. Starbucks wanted him badly enough to offer a $10 million signing bonus, $1.3 million annual salary, and a private jet to fly him from his home in California to Seattle 3 times a week. That jet matters more than it sounds. Niccol arrived in September 2024, and he did something the last CEOs hadn't done. He wrote to the union personally. He said he deeply respected the right of workers to organize. He committed to engaging constructively and in good faith. He used words like partnership and trust and respect. the same words Schultz used when he started. For 9 months, it actually looked like things were changing. Both sides sat down, hundreds of hours of negotiation, 33 tentative agreements on working conditions, scheduling, store operations. Then in December 2024, the workers put their economic proposals on the table. Pay increases, better hours, staffing levels that made the job survivable. Starbucks said no. Not "we need more time," not "let's find a middle ground." No to everything. In exchange, they offered a package that didn't raise wages in the first year, didn't address a single reason workers had been organizing for 3 years. The union filed a national unfair labor practice charge. Talks collapsed. In November 2025, workers launched a national strike on Red Cup Day, one of Starbucks' biggest sales days of the year. Stores across 25 cities walked out. They called it the Red Cup Rebellion. And through all of it, the strike, the charges, the collapsed negotiations, Brian Niccol was commuting to Seattle 3 times a week on a private jet, while baristas walked picket lines below. His total compensation that year was $6,666 times the annual salary of the baristas he was telling couldn't have a pay rise. 6,666 times. The largest CEO to worker pay gap of any S&P 500 company in America. So, back to your $7. Now you know where it doesn't go. It doesn't go to the person handing you the cup. It doesn't go to fixing the staffing so your wait drops below 15 minutes. It doesn't go toward the wages that would let a barista pay rent in the city where they serve you coffee every morning. Starbucks built its entire identity on one idea: treat the people well and everything else follows. That was the promise. Howard Schultz made it for 50 years. Then, when workers asked him to honor it, he came back from retirement, flew to Buffalo, hired intelligence professionals with CIA clearance, and spent 2 years fighting the people he spent a career calling partners. Brian Niccol arrived with the right words, sat at the table for 9 months, then said no to pay rises and flew home on a private jet. Over 1,100 legal violations, a national strike, 3 years without a contract, and your coffee still costs $7. The machine still runs, 38,000 locations, billions in revenue. The Green Mermaid is still on every corner. But the thing that made it worth $7 in the first place was never the coffee. It was the person handing it to you. That's the thing they've spent 3 years trying to destroy. Every empire has a story. This one isn't over yet. Subscribe to hear the next one.